Today I'm really excited because I'm going to be doing some serious modifications to my 4th gen Toyota Tacoma. Right now it's fairly stock, but I'm ready to take it up a notch. Over the last few months, I posted a few polls on YouTube and had you guys vote on which wheels, tires, and suspension I should go with. Thank you to everyone who did vote and subscribe. That really did help me decide. Now, I didn't always choose the most popular vote, and I'll get into why a little bit later. I'm here at M&M Automotive, where they specialize in customizing your ride. So check them out if you're in the Utah area. They have been absolutely fantastic to work with. In this video, I'm going to be covering a lot of information when it comes to doing modifications like this. I'm going to be covering all the specs of what I chose and why I chose them. I'll let you know if my MPGs have suffered, if there's any additional road noise, the ride quality with the new suspension, if I need to recalibrate my speedometer, and if I've lost any performance by adding larger wheels and tires. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get the truck inside so they can get to work. So what do you guys think? I'm really happy with the way this turned out. It's exactly the stance that I was looking to achieve. Now let me break down the options that I chose. This is my daily driver, and so I really wanted to balance on-road performance as well as off-road performance. Let's start with the tires. These are 34s, and I really wanted 34s because to me, 33s with this lift just look too small. And 35s I think are just too big. It's going to be too much for what I actually want to be doing with the truck. The tire size is 285 75/17s. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, I put a poll out there for you guys to vote on which tires I should go with, and I was debating on these. These are the Toyo Open Country AT3s. I was debating between the new KO3s and the Falcon Wild Peak AT4Ws. Now these got the least amount of votes, but I'll tell you why I went with these. I really wanted this tire size. They had to be severe snow rated because I live in Utah and it snows here. And they had to offer a C load range. Now, if you're not familiar with load rating, it's effectively how much weight this tire can handle. In other words, it's like how strong this tire is. Now, the stock wheels were a 4-ply and these are a 6-ply, so I'm actually getting more sidewall protection here than the stock, so that's a plus. But all the other options that I looked at in this tire size, they only offered E-load ratings. And so that's going to add a considerable amount of weight, and the more weight you add to the tire, the less MPGs you're going to get, and it's not going to be as comfortable on road as well. If I were to go with an E-load tire, that would have added 8 more pounds to each tire, and that's just something I didn't want to do. So in total, with the tire and the wheel, we're at 89 pounds. Now I compared that to the stock wheel. Those weighed 66 pounds, so that's a difference of 23 pounds already by upgrading to these wheels and tires, and so that's going to affect my MPGs, and so I really wanted to try and balance that. Now the wheels. These are the Icon HULSE Double Black. And this wasn't one of the options that I had in the poll that I did. I was debating between going with some bronze black Rhino wheels and some black Method 305s. And then I saw these. These look basically identical to the Method 305s, and Icon was running a killer sale last month. And so I really wanted to take advantage of the price point because they basically look the same and they were considerably cheaper. These have a plus 25 offset, and to me this is the sweet spot. It is the right amount of poke and it just gives it the perfect stance. It's not too much. I didn't want to go to like a 0 offset because to me that just pokes out too much. This is exactly the stance that I was looking for, and I think plus 25 on the 4th gen is the perfect sweet spot. And to give you a comparison, I believe the stock wheels are at a plus 55, and the lower the offset number, the more amount of poke you're going to have. So we went from 55 to a 25, and if you go to a 0, you're going to poke out even more. Now moving on to the suspension. This is the Icon Stage 2 with the billet aluminum upper control arms and the triple rate rear springs. Now, why Icon, you might ask again? Well, guys, again, they were having a killer sale last month, and I really wanted to take advantage of those price points. And I feel like this suspension is a really good value. It has everything in the kit that I wanted, and it's going to achieve the look and ride quality. Now, in the poll, I was debating between Kings and these Icons, and Kings are considerably more expensive, and they didn't come with the upper control arms. And guys, it's also just overkill for what I'm going to be doing. Are they better shocks? Absolutely. I'm not going to debate that. But I'm balancing between what I actually need and price point, and I think that these are really just a good value. So guys, this video is not sponsored by Icon. I just happened to pick up a shirt while I was picking up everything else, but I really hope that this suspension lasts me a long time. So I took some measurements before I got the modifications done. If you're curious to know exactly how much ride height I'm getting now, the stock ride height in the front was 35.5 inches in the front, and now I'm getting 40.25 in the front. So that's a difference of 4 3/4 inches in the front. Now in the rear, the stock ride height was 37.5 inches. Now we're at 41 3/4 inches. And so that's a difference of 4 1/4 inches in the rear. Then at the front at the skid plate, the stock height was 10 inches, and now we're measuring at 14 inches. So that's going to give us an additional 4 inches of ground clearance in the front. So now you're probably wondering what I paid for this. Now keep in mind, I took advantage of Icon sale that they were doing, and they were pretty steep discounts. It was like up to 25%. So keep that in mind as you guys are pricing these out. But this is going to range you anywhere from $6,000 to $7,000, depending on, you know, install, if you're going to do it yourself, alignment, those type of things, and what the current price is on all these items. Now you're probably wondering about clearance and if I have any rubbing. So far I've not experienced any rubbing. Now I haven't had it at full compression, but I have seen other guys talk about it, and with this setup there shouldn't be any rubbing anywhere. Now let's talk about miles per gallon. I've had the modifications done for a few weeks now, and I've had a good mix of highway and city driving so far. Losing miles per gallon is probably the biggest drawback to adding larger wheels and tires, but as the old saying goes, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Here's a look at my trip information showing the miles per gallon. Now before the modifications, you can see here that I was getting 20 mpgs, and I was getting that consistently. That was both highway and city driving. And you can see I had a significant drop here, and that's because I towed 6,500 pounds, and I gotta say I did phenomenally, by the way. But that definitely did hurt my mpgs. Then you can see here this bar, this one's quite a bit higher. This was 22.7 mpgs. I took a trip and it was mainly highway driving, and I had it in eco mode, and I got really good gas mileage there. And then this one represents what I'm getting right now, which is 18.1 mpgs. So it looks like I'm going to be getting about 2 miles per gallon less than I normally did when the truck was stock. And how that affects my range now, it's going to be about 35 to 40 miles less than when I was stock. Now moving on to road noise, this may be a concern of yours, it certainly is for me. Now these tires are more aggressive and that adds to the road noise, but these are all terrains and they're not mud terrains, so I'm hoping that it's actually not going to be that bad. But I'm going to put that to the test. When I had the stock wheels and tires on, I did my decibel meter here and it was around 63, and so now I'm going to do it again. I'm going to be going the same speed, around 60 miles an hour, and we're going to see if these tires add any additional road noise. So that's a difference of 7 decibels, and I'm really happy with the road noise so far. I definitely can tell a difference from the stock tires as expected, but it's not so loud that I feel like I have to talk really loud when somebody else is in the car, and it doesn't feel like it's gonna annoy me long term. It's a slight increase, but not enough, like I said, to annoy me. Now let's talk about ride quality. I really didn't know what to expect with this suspension, but right off the bat, guys, I'm noticing that it is extremely softer than the stock suspension. So if you've ever ridden in a Cadillac, it has that floaty feeling where it just soaks up the bumps a little bit better. In the stock suspension, if I hit a bump, it would just be like an instant jolt and it would just really shake the truck. This seems like it just soaks up the bumps a little bit better. Now there are some cons to having soft suspension. I'm actually kind of worried when I go to tow something that the back end is going to squat quite a bit and the front end's going to pop up. But hopefully that doesn't happen. So obviously these are some on-road characteristics, and where this suspension is really going to shine is off-road, and hopefully in a future video I can really showcase that. But for right now, the on-road quality, I got nothing to complain about. Now moving on to the speedometer, do you need to recalibrate it after you've done larger wheels and tires? When the truck was stock, the speedometer was always showing about 1 or 2 miles an hour faster than what the GPS showed. That's actually pretty common because car manufacturers don't want to be liable for you speeding. They would much rather err on the side of caution. Here's a look at the speedometer after I've got the modifications done. I'm going 61 right now is what the speedometer says. And the GPS is saying 59 again. So not a lot of change here. It's about 1 or 2 miles an hour difference again. So there's not a lot of change in the speedometer. These open country AT3s are about 2.3 inches larger in diameter compared to the stock tires. And so I was expecting maybe to see some difference, but I don't see any difference. And so there's no reason for me to recalibrate the speedometer. Now let's talk about performance loss, and what I mean by that is strictly acceleration. With these heavier and larger tires, the truck isn't going to accelerate as fast as it did with the stock tires. And I want to know exactly by how much. Now don't roast me in the comments. I didn't buy this truck because it was fast. This is just a test to see how these mods affect the acceleration. With the stock wheels and the OTT tune, my truck did 0 to 60 in 7.93 seconds. So let's run it again and see what the difference is. Okay, here we go. We're gonna go into sport mode. Do a little brake boost, and here we go.
30. 60.
So I can definitely tell it's not as quick as when it was stock, and that's expected. All right, so the results are in 0 to 60 in 8.67 seconds. Now, when I ran it before, when the truck was stock, I got 7.93 seconds. So that's a difference of 0.74 seconds slower. So of course that's expected, and it's just gonna have to be a trade-off. You can't have larger wheels and tires and not expect to lose some acceleration. But with that being said, this truck still has a lot of torque, especially with the OTT tune. If you guys haven't seen that video, go ahead and check that out. It adds an additional, I think, 30 horsepower and 35 pound-feet of torque. So that really helps when you're going to be putting on larger wheels and tires. So as always, guys, I really try to do my best to be as informative as I can so that you guys can make informed decision as you're modifying your rigs. Please consider subscribing. It's free. It helps keep me motivated to bring you guys good content. So thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.